Imagine being in a silent valley, surrounded by ancient stones that seem to hold secrets that are thousands of years old. There, a team of archaeologists is carefully removing the seal from a mysterious tomb, which they say is that of the Virgin Mary. But when they get closer, they are shocked. The tomb is completely empty. This discovery has stirred up questions that have echoed across centuries. Did Mary really ascend to heaven, body and soul, like some stories say? Could another explanation lurk in the shadows of history? This isn't just any tomb. It's the final resting place of one of the most revered figures in the world. She is the mother of Jesus. People revere her not only in Christianity, but also in Islam and beyond. The Virgin Mary's story isn't like any other. After Jesus' death, traditions about her life and what happened to her afterward began to grow. Some say she died peacefully and ascended to heaven, while others believe she never died at all and simply disappeared into the skies, her body untouched by death. The Bible itself doesn't tell us how Mary's life ended. Despite being one of the most important figures in Christian history, there is no official record of her final days. Some legends claim Mary's tomb is in Jerusalem, while others insist it's in Ephesus, a city in modern-day Turkey. There's even a tale that she traveled as far as India. The possibilities are endless, and they're all part of what makes her story so fascinating. But even this belief varies between traditions. Catholics and Eastern Orthodox Christians both celebrate Mary's Assumption, but they disagree on the details. While Orthodox Christians believe Mary died, buried herself, and then resurrected before ascending, Catholics often believe she never died at all. Islam also has Mary as a reference. The Quran refers to her as Maryam, and people celebrate her as one of the purest and most faithful women in history. Some Islamic traditions even say that her tomb glows with divine light, a sign of her extraordinary connection with God. As Christianity expanded, so did the divide in interpretations. By the 5th century, the Eastern Orthodox Church embraced the belief in Mary's dormition, meaning she fell asleep in death, but was resurrected and assumed into heaven. They held on to this tradition as a significant yet non-dogmatic part of their faith. On the other hand, the Catholic Church developed the doctrine of the Assumption. Pope Pius X solidified this teaching as official dogma in 1950, with the declaration of Munificentissimus Deus, stating that Mary was taken to heaven, body and soul. However, the Church remained ambiguous on whether Mary had died before her Assumption, allowing for multiple interpretations. The theological contrast runs deep. For Catholics, the Immaculate Conception, Mary being born without original sin, ties directly to the Assumption, signifying her unique purity and closeness to God. Meanwhile, Eastern Christians place greater emphasis on the mystery of her dormition, celebrating it with elaborate. Christianity is not the only religion that recognizes Mary's significance. Confined to Christianity. In Islam, she is known as Maryam, a revered figure mentioned more times in the Quran than in the New Testament. Muslim tradition views her as the mother of the prophet Jesus, Isa, and celebrates her purity, faith, and connection to God. Islamic texts describe a fascinating encounter during the Prophet Muhammad reportedly saw Maryam surrounded by angels, her presence glowing with divine favor. By angels, her presence glowing with divine favor. Some stories even claim her tomb emits a heavenly light, underscoring her spiritual importance. Remember to join our community by subscribing to this channel. By the 7th century, the belief in Mary's Assumption became widespread across Christian communities. Emperor Maurice of the Eastern Roman Empire declared August 15th a day of celebration for Mary's dormition. This tradition evolved in the Western Church, becoming the Feast of the Assumption, a day still celebrated by millions worldwide. But even here, differences persist. For example, Eastern Orthodox Christians fast for 14 days leading up to August 15th, marking it with solemn prayers and liturgies. Catholics honor the day with festive masses, hymns, and public processions. Some Protestant denominations observe the day as a memorial rather than a feast, reflecting a more reserved view of Mary's role. Cultural influences beyond Christianity have shaped how people remember Mary. For instance, both Christian and Islamic art depict Mary, and some Muslims honor her during Ramadan. One of the most perplexing aspects of Mary's story is the absence of her death or assumption in the Bible. While the New Testament speaks of her life and role as Jesus' mother, it offers no clues about her final days. This silence, dating back to the earliest days of Christianity, created a fertile ground for speculation and the birth of oral traditions. By the 2nd and 3rd centuries, these oral accounts began to take shape in written form, though their accuracy and origins remain debated. The Liber Requiem Mariae, the Book of Mary's Repose, one of the earliest texts detailing her Assumption, emerged during this period. However, scholars question its reliability due to its contradictions with other early Christian writings. Archaeological discoveries have attempted to fill the gaps left by historical records. One of the most famous sites is the Church of the Sepulchre of St. Mary, located in the Kidron Valley near Jerusalem. This ancient tomb, revered by Eastern Christians, has been a place of pilgrimage for centuries. When the tomb was reopened after being sealed for ages, it revealed nothing but emptiness, a finding that supports the belief in Mary's bodily assumption. However, there are numerous tombs believed to be associated with her. In Ephesus, Turkey, another site, the House of the Virgin Mary, claims to be where she spent her final days. This location gained credibility in the 19th century when the visions of a German nun, Anna Katharina Emmerich, led researchers to discover a small house matching her descriptions. Pope Paul VI and other religious leaders have since made the site a significant pilgrimage destination. But here's where the story takes an even stranger turn. Other locations, such as Nineveh in Iraq and Muri in Pakistan, also claim to house Mary's tomb. These conflicting claims make it clear. Mary's story isn't bound to one place, but is a global tapestry of faith and tradition. Oral traditions played a crucial role in preserving Mary's story, but they also contributed to its evolution. Cultural, political, and theological shifts influenced these stories as they passed down through generations. For example, the 7th century story of the Apostle Thomas adds a dramatic twist to Mary's Assumption. It claims Thomas arrived late to Mary's funeral, only to find her tomb empty and her belt miraculously left behind. This tale spread widely, inspiring countless artworks and becoming a cornerstone of belief for many Christians. However, scholars like Stephen J. Shoemaker argue that these traditions didn't emerge from a single source. Multiple influences, including early Jewish Christian communities and apocryphal texts, shaped them instead, leading to variations that often contradict one another. In modern times, scientific advancements have added a new dimension to the study of Mary's story. Archaeologists use tools like ground-penetrating radar and carbon dating to analyze ancient sites associated with her. For instance, recent studies of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre have revealed previously hidden layers, offering insights into early Christian burial practices. Mary is often believed to hold a special connection to God, making her a source of hope and comfort for people around the world. Many believe she has the power to intercede, meaning she asks God to help those who pray to her. This belief is especially strong when it comes to places connected to her story, like the sites believed to be her tomb. At these locations, countless reports of miracles have emerged. Pilgrims from all walks of life have visited these sacred spots, leaving behind testimonies of cures, blessings, and supernatural experiences. The belief that Mary hears and answers faith-filled prayers often links these miracles. One of the most common miracles reported involves healing. People who are sick, injured, or suffering from chronic illnesses have claimed to experience sudden and complete recoveries after visiting Mary's tomb or praying for her intercession. Some of these events are so extraordinary that they leave even skeptics questioning what might have happened. For instance, pilgrims have recounted experiences of regaining their sight, walking after years of paralysis, or receiving cures for diseases that doctors had deemed incurable. These events are often attributed to Mary's compassion and her special role as the mother of Jesus, making her someone uniquely close to God. In addition to physical cures, there have been reports of supernatural phenomena at Mary's tomb. Some visitors describe seeing bright lights, feeling an overwhelming sense of peace, or even smelling the fragrance of flowers when none were present. Others claim to have witnessed visions of Mary herself, often surrounded by an ethereal glow. These experiences have reinforced the belief that Mary's presence is still active in the world, offering guidance, comfort, and divine blessings. For many, these miracles are proof of her love and her unique ability to intercede on behalf of those in need. Believers interpret the empty tomb as evidence that Mary's body never remained on earth. Unlike most people who are buried and whose remains can be found, Mary's tomb was empty, with no trace of her. For this reason, the Catholic Church and numerous Eastern Orthodox Christians hold the belief that Mary ascended into heaven. According to a famous story from the 7th century, when people opened Mary's tomb, they found only her burial garments. According to the tale, these garments were untouched, as if her body had simply vanished. Generations have passed down this account, which remains a central part of the tradition surrounding Mary's Assumption. The Church of the Tomb of Mary, nestled at the foot of the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem, is a place filled with history, reverence, and mystery. For centuries, people have visited this holy site, believed to be the final resting place of the Virgin Mary. The story of the Church of the Tomb of Mary begins in the 4th century, during the reign of Emperor Theodosius I. This was a time when Christianity was spreading rapidly, and leaders wanted to honor key figures in the faith by building grand churches. To commemorate Mary, a church was constructed on the spot where many believed she had been buried. The original structure reflected the significance of Mary's role in Christianity. Built in the early days of Christian architecture, it was simple but sacred, meant to inspire prayer and reflection. This church marked the beginning of the site's significance as a pilgrimage destination. Are you enjoying the story? Support our channel by clicking the subscribe button. However, like many sacred sites in the region, the church faced destruction. Conflict periods, particularly during Muslim rule in the 7th century, caused damage and ultimately led to the church's destruction. But its importance never faded. The Crusaders rebuilt the church in the 12th century during the Crusades. Their reconstruction was grander and more fortified, reflecting their intention to protect the holy site while preserving its sacred purpose. This version of the church is closer to what we see today, showcasing a blend of Christian artistry and Crusader influence. The Church of the Tomb of Mary is unlike many other churches. It is a remarkable underground structure, which makes visiting it feel like stepping into an ancient and sacred world. Its design reflects both its religious significance and the reverence people have for Mary. One of the most striking features of the church is the long staircase that leads visitors deep underground to the empty tomb of Mary. These steps, worn smooth by centuries of pilgrims, create a sense of anticipation as you descend. The dim lighting and cool air add to the solemn atmosphere, making it clear that this is a place of prayer and reflection. At the bottom of the staircase lies the tomb itself, a simple and empty stone chamber. Many Christians see its emptiness as proof of Mary's assumption into heaven. Icons, lamps, and religious artifacts richly decorate the church's interior. These items reflect the traditions of the various Christian groups that care for the site, including Greek Orthodox, Armenian Apostolic, and Roman Catholic communities. Visitors can see beautiful icons of Mary painted in the Byzantine style, as well as hanging oil lamps that illuminate the space with a soft, flickering glow. These decorations not only honor Mary, but also represent the deep spiritual connection people feel when visiting this sacred place. Multiple Christian denominations care for the Church of the Tomb of Mary, making it unique. This shared responsibility reflects Mary's significance across different branches of Christianity, from Catholicism to Eastern Orthodoxy. The cooperation between these groups ensures that the Church remains a place of unity, prayer, and devotion. From its origins in the 4th century to its reconstruction by the Crusaders, the Church of the Tomb of Mary has stood as a testament to the deep reverence people have for the Mother of Jesus. For centuries, the story of the Virgin Mary and her Assumption into heaven has captivated artists, musicians, and writers. Her life, marked by faith, devotion, and mystery, has inspired countless masterpieces across different forms of art. Artists have told and retold Mary's story through paintings, music, and literature in ways that touch the heart and ignite the imagination. For hundreds of years, artists have drawn inspiration from Mary's purity and grace, resulting in some of the most iconic images in history. Paintings of the Virgin Mary and her Assumption have become symbols of faith and hope, decorating churches, museums, and homes around the world. During the Renaissance, Mary became a central figure in religious art. Artists like Raphael, Michelangelo, and Titian painted her as a figure of beauty, humility, and divine love. One of the most famous depictions of her Assumption is Titian's Assumption of the Virgin, 1516 to 1518, which shows Mary being lifted to heaven, surrounded by angels and bathed in golden light. The painting captures both the spiritual awe and the human tenderness associated with her story. In the Baroque period, artists like Peter Paul Rubens added dramatic flair to their portrayals of Mary's Assumption. Using bold colors and swirling compositions, they emphasized the miracle of her being taken into heaven, making viewers feel as if they were witnessing the event themselves. In the Eastern Orthodox tradition, Mary has been a central figure in religious icons. These images, painted on wood panels with gold backgrounds, show her as the Theotokos, or Mother of God. The Assumption, often called the Dormition in the East, is depicted with solemnity and reverence, showing Mary surrounded by apostles as her body is taken to heaven. Mary's story has also inspired music, from ancient hymns to grand orchestral works. Her Assumption, in particular, has been celebrated in songs that express the joy and wonder of her being taken into heaven. One of the earliest forms of musical devotion to Mary comes from Gregorian sea monasteries, and churches sung these simple, meditative melodies, praising Mary as the Queen of Heaven. Heaven. The hymn Ave Maria, meaning Hail Mary, became a cornerstone of Christian worship, with its serene melody echoing through centuries. As music evolved, composers created larger works dedicated to Mary. Johann Sebastian Bach and Charles Gounod famously composed a version of Ave Maria that remains one of the most beloved pieces of classical music today. In the Romantic period, composers like Franz Schubert wrote breathtaking pieces celebrating Mary. Schubert's Ave Maria, with its soaring melody and heartfelt emotion, is often performed during weddings, funerals, and church services, connecting listeners to Mary's story through its beauty. Even in modern times, Mary continues to inspire musicians. Various genres, from contemporary choral works to popular music, feature songs dedicated to her. Her story transcends time, speaking to people across generations through the universal language of music. Mary's life and Assumption have deeply moved writers, inspiring them to craft stories and poems that explore her humanity and divinity. Ancient texts and modern novels portray Mary as a symbol of hope, compassion, and divine grace. The earliest literary works about Mary's Assumption come from apocryphal texts like the Liber Requiem Mariae and Transitus Mariae. These stories, written between the 2nd and 5th centuries, describe the miraculous events of Mary's death and her journey to heaven. Although not included in the Bible, they laid the foundation for later artistic and theological reflections on her Assumption. If you're enjoying this story, Consider supporting our work by sending a super thanks. By contributing, you're helping us continue creating engaging, thoughtful content that inspires and informs. In the Middle Ages, Mary was a central figure in religious poetry. Writers like Dante Alighieri paid tribute to her in works like the Divine Comedy, where she appears as a guiding figure in heaven. Her Assumption is celebrated as the ultimate reward for her faith and virtue, inspiring believers to strive for holiness. In more recent times, authors have used Mary's story to explore themes of motherhood, sacrifice, and redemption. Writers like Gerard Manley Hopkins and Rainer Maria Rilke artistic inspiration, the Virgin Mary and her Assumption in art, music, and literature. The Virgin Mary story is more than history or legend. It's a reflection of humanity's eternal search for meaning, hope, and faith. Across centuries, she has been a source of strength, a figure of compassion, and a symbol of the miraculous. Her Assumption stands as a powerful reminder that even in life's greatest mysteries, there is beauty and grace. Thanks for watching. Join our community by subscribing to this channel until the next video.